Thursday at 6:30, so I hope you'll all join us. Tell your friends, share our link, and come on aboard the Soul Space. So I'm Georgia Rose from Zencuda, and I'm going to start tonight and hopefully not bore too many of you by telling you a little bit about me and who I am and how this show came to be. So I'm a very spiritual person. I try to be an inspirational individual, and that's why this show was born, so that we have a platform for all of us to maybe grow our soul and take some right action and join a community where we can support each other on our journey in this thing called life. So tonight we're going to talk about the astrology for December, and we have a lot of really great transits coming in. Some major one that actually happened the other day when I was on the radio, which was Jupiter going into Capricorn on December 3rd. So before I start, I want to thank everybody here at govsradio.com, especially my helper, Sally. I don't know what her official title is, but Sally has been amazing in teaching me how all this stuff works, and I have to say it's a little overwhelming. But hey, we're getting there. So I hope you'll call in tonight. There'll be a number on the screen. If you have any questions astrologically for what we're doing here in the December month or what's coming up in 2020 for you, give a call in. You can see I have my copious amounts of notes. I've been studying charts for a while in preparation for tonight's broadcast. So how did I get on this path? In 2011, my whole life fell apart. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who can relate to that, right? And so what do we do when things aren't going so great? We go out and we seek, right? That's when we go to church. Nobody ever goes to church when they're having a great day. They always go to church when they're having a little challenge. And so I started to seek a lot of things in the spiritual world, and I developed some energy that in the past I kind of allowed myself to close up. So I actually found myself on a path of spirituality where I actually started to practice as a psychic medium and a healer and became an astrologer. I've been studying astrology for 10 years. So tonight, if you could share this broadcast on Facebook, that would be great. And, you know, if you want to start a watch party or anything that you need to be doing, just share it with your friends. And I'm going to actually share it on my Zencuda page, which is Zencuda by Georgia Rose on Facebook. And give me a minute to do that. And, oops. See? We got a lot of energy in the studio tonight. So Sally might have to help me with this. So we'll share that on the Zencuda page. So in 2011, things started to really happen, not in a great way for me, and that led me to a lot of spirituality. And I bring all the wisdom and the studies that I've done throughout the last decade here at the Zencuda Soul Space. We're going to have guests on the show. I have a numerologist coming up next month. And on the 26th of December, Kat Mayer will be here from Moonlit Spirit Healing. She's going to talk about crystals, so if you're into that.
You might have your volume on.
Oh. See, I'm learning, folks.
And if you want me to help share it on your page, just toss your phone over.
Definitely do that. Okay, volume's off. So on December 26th, we're going to have Kat Mayer here from Moonlit Spirit Healing. She's going to talk about crystals. So if you're really into crystals, guys, get ready for a great show there. So tonight we're going to talk about the astrology for December. And like I just said, astrology is one of the things that I kind of went into seeking with and really started to have a lot of knowledge with. And Sally's trying to share this on my phone.
Open it up and I'll share it all over the place for you.
Oh, thanks, Sally. Sally is the heart blood of govsradio.com around here. Let me tell you, I don't think any of us who do shows could function without Miss Sally.
I've learned how to use a lot of people's phones, that's for sure.
She's like Mustang Sally. So, getting back to the astrology of the night. So, one of the things that led me to astrology was when I went to someone and they did my chart. It was so uncannily on the money of all the things that had happened to me in my life at certain times and certain aspects of my personality and challenges. And astrology answered one question for me, which was a question that I had been asking myself for decades. And that question was, why do I do the things I do? And it was all right here in the chart. So all of you have a beautiful birth chart as well. And the birth chart depends on your actual date of birth and the time and place you were born. And that is the position that the stars were in and the planets were in at exactly that moment. So I don't know about you guys out there. Maybe you could weigh in on this. But I kind of think if you were born at a specific moment, there's probably a really good reason for that. And most of the time we can find the reason in our charts. So what's going on in December and how can we make this energy work for us? Well, one of the things that I like to do when I look at a chart and I look at the aspects of what the energy is like is I try to use that energy for things that I have to do in my life. Like, for instance, is it a good day to have an important conversation or for travel or, what's happening with the relationships in my life and things like that. So if you have any questions, just call in and I'll try and answer them for you. So, as I said, Jupiter went into Capricorn this past Tuesday, and that's kind of a big deal because Jupiter is a really big fat planet that loves to give us luck and expand things in our life. So, when it changes signs, it changes the way it does that. And it's been in Sagittarius for the last 12 months. So, all of you Saggies out there have probably had a pretty good year for 2019. And now it's going into Capricorn. And in Capricorn, Jupiter's a little different than it was in Sagittarius. In Sagittarius, it likes to be buoyant and it expands with no limits and it loves us to be social and party and it also expands the truth in Sagittarius because for all you Saggies out there, you love to talk about the truth, you love to find the truth, can't resist a mystery, that kind of thing. Well, when Jupiter goes into Capricorn, it's a very different energy. Capricorn energy is very limiting at times. It's very steeped in tradition. It's a very steady energy. And so when the planet that wants to expand goes into the sign that wants to limit it, it really doesn't like being there. So Jupiter in Sagittarius is probably going to bring things into our life that maybe get taken away a little bit or get limited. And that depends on wherever Capricorn is in your chart, what area of your life you'll do that in. But it'll limit these things for one reason, and that's actually to bring us a better thing. So if something in your life falls away in that area, wherever Capricorn is in your chart in the next 12 months, it's probably because the universe wants to give you something a lot better. And the other thing Jupiter in Capricorn wants us to do is be grateful. Jupiter is a planet of luck and benevolence. And so it wants us to be grateful for the universe and trust the universe that the universe really has our back. So what's one of the ways we learn to be grateful? When we're deprived a little bit or we're limited in something or something's taken away. When we're hungry and thirsty, we sure do appreciate water and food, right? So that's kind of the way Jupiter and Capricorn's going to work. So just know that anything that gets taken away or starts to fade out in your life is really doing it because the universe wants to bring you even more abundance. So don't be afraid to let go of those things that you've been holding on to, the job that you really want to quit, the relationship that's really not that healthy and that you don't really think you should be in, but you stay in, those kind of things. They might fall away in this energy because Jupiter has something much better planned for you. So that's the first thing that happened in December, and I'm going to be looking down at some of my notes tonight because I like to always look at the charts. And please feel free to call in because that's what the Soul Space is about. This is your community, and we want to make sure that you use astrology in your daily life too to find out how to use the energy. So Jupiter in Capricorn comes in, and then right on the heels of that, we have the Sun squaring Neptune. And I know that sounds like a lot of fancy stuff, but the Sun is our life force in astrology. The Sun is that beautiful big ball of energy that gives us our motivation and our real drive for life. So, like for instance, if you're a Leo Sun, you're probably a very fiery individual because the Sun is very powerful in Leo. So when the Sun comes in next to a planet or squares, which is an energy that's not really compliant, right? Good things in astrology are conjunctions when planets are together or trines when they form a triangle. But when they square, it's not really always the greatest thing. And what happens right on the heels of this Venus Jupiter going into Capricorn, right on the heels of that, we've got the Sun squaring Neptune. And what's going to happen is when Jupiter goes into Capricorn, there's another thing in play that's going to give us a lot of clarity. But that clarity is not going to last. So if you have anything that you need to do in the next few days that's really important, an important conversation or making an important change, you want to do it before the 8th or 9th of this month. Because the clarity is going to fade a little bit when Neptune and the Sun start playing around with each other. When our life force, that beautiful Sun, meets the planet of Neptune, which is a planet of fantasy, dreaminess, elusiveness, sometimes we get really cloudy in our thoughts. So if you have any decisions to make, do them before the 8th of the month. And then around the 9th of the month, Mercury goes into Sagittarius. Mercury has been in Scorpio for a really long time, and in Scorpio, it's a really focused, fixed energy. But once it goes into Sag, it becomes a little lighter, which is great for the holiday season because we're going to want to be more social and flit around a little bit more, and so it'll be a lighter energy for us. So if you're planning a party, I would do that after the 10th of the month or so that you've got really lighthearted guests and the energy isn't so heavy. Big thing happening this month is we also have a new moon coming in Gemini on the 11th of the month, 11th and 12th. That happens at 9:12 p.m. And it's accompanied by Venus doing something to Saturn and Pluto. Venus is actually catching up to Saturn and Pluto. So when the the new moon comes in on the 12th, you're going to see a lot of energy. It's going to be a really powerful new moon. So if you have anything that you want to start, a project or start a relationship or start something new, the 11th and 12th of the month is great for that. And if you have any more questions you want to call in, I'll definitely answer those. So how are we doing over there, Sally? What do you think?
I was trying to find the email that you sent me for the banners, but I don't have it, so maybe you sent it to someone else. I was just looking to see if you had it there.
Oh, okay.
If you actually have the pictures, I could just use your phone.
I can definitely send them. I have my laptop in here. I'm going to send that to you. I'll resend the email. Sally's looking for my banner for the TV behind us so that you guys know who I am. Okay. So I'd love to hear you guys out there, what you think of astrology, and if you use astrology at all in your life, or if you go see an astrologer, or those of you who ever have your charts done once a year, that's a really cool thing to do. There's so many things that you can predict with astrology charts, and there's even a type of astrology that you can do that actually predicts how your relationship is going to go. I know people love to hear about that. And there's two types of relationship charts that you can do. You can do a compatibility chart or a synastry chart. And the synastry actually overlays each person's chart on top of the other to see how that they are compatible. The composite chart is a chart that actually is a chart of the relationship. So there's so much in-depth stuff that you can do with astrology. You could study it for years and not know it all. So we're just touching the surface tonight. So here's the graphic. Sally, do you want me to resend that to you?
Sure.
Okay. Because I had this email. So.
Explain the difference between the compatibility chart and the second one that you mentioned. Like, what would be the difference?
Yeah, the compatibility chart, that's a synastry chart, actually takes like one person's chart and the other person's chart and combines them one on top of the other so that you can actually see how you relate to each other.
In different ways, like how your Mercury would relate to each other when you're communicating, that type of thing. Okay.
And you can actually see if two people are soulmates in a chart, if they've had previous lives together in a chart, that kind of thing. Really cool stuff. And that's actually what really turned me on with astrology in the beginning, was all this predictory stuff that you can actually do with astrology. And it's uncanny how when you really look at everything, it's almost like someone gave you a calendar of your life. It's just everything is right there in the chart. You can't argue with it. It's really pretty cool. So the other chart, the composite chart, is an actual chart of the relationship. It gives the relationship a personality. Like maybe you're a Leo and she's a Libra, but the relationship is a Taurus. So it actually shows you how you guys interact together and how the relationship is. And it gives you the kind of the identity, and that really helps you with relationships and how you relate to each other, because it explains why people do the things they do, So this new moon that's coming in Gemini is really, really powerful. It is a moon that actually sets the stage for 2020. So whatever's going to be happening in your life around the 11th and 12th this month is probably a theme that's going to run forward into your life for the next year or so until the end of December 2020. 2020 is going to be a building year for most people. It's a year for planning and building and getting everything together. It's not going to be a huge year for execution and actually actuating plans. That's more 2021. But in 2020, you're going to see a lot of really great energy that's going to help you get motivated to do the things that you really want to do. So I would say the theme for this moon coming in on the 12th, and the theme that's going to be for 2020, is integration. That Jupiter in Capricorn is an energy that likes to take the old traditions and combine them with the new stuff. So we're going to have to find a way to integrate what's old with what's new. So everything you haven't taken responsibility for in your life, you want to integrate with a new way of doing it, and then the universe will smile upon you. So, the universe always has things that it wants us to do. but we kick and scream and resist it. And that's why we usually have challenges in our life. When we're in alignment, we usually don't have too many challenges. So as that December moon comes in, we're going to see that's going to be the beginning of energy really shifting. December as a whole brings in energy that completely flips over and completely changes the game on almost everything major in our lives. It's a really different feeling by the time we get to January. A lot of things after that moon coming in on the 12th and 11th and 12th is going to dissolve a lot of the reality that you have, in the sense of a lot of data is going to come in, because Gemini is information and communication. So when the moon is in that sign, we get a lot of data, but we don't always know what to do with it. So once that moon starts to dissipate and you get around the 15th of the month, you're going to know what to do with the data. But this moon coming in could be kind of confusing. So if you're in a relationship, I wouldn't have any serious conversation around the time of this moon. And I also, if you're thinking of making any serious decision, a job change or a big purchase or something like that, I wouldn't really do it around the time of this moon, but I would plan those new things. Like I said before, new moons coming in are fresh starts, but I would wait a few days to actually put it in action. So Sally, you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I always really liked about astrology is just things like you were just mentioning right now, such as, if you're going to sign a contract, like an astrologist would be like, well, absolutely do it. Just wait till Tuesday.
Right,
it's like,
right.
And sometimes it's like, it's good advice,
It is good advice, especially when Mercury is in retrograde, or if it's become a catchphrase in the last few years for us. And I always say Mercury kind of gets a bad rap because everybody's like, oh, it's Mercury retrograde. Let's blame that for everything. But what Mercury retrograde really does is it wants us to slow down. Planets don't really go backwards, which is what a lot of people think happens during a retrograde. Planets just slow down so they look like they're going backwards. So when Mercury, which is our mind, our cognitive thought, slows down, it's not saying don't buy the car or don't get the haircut. It's saying think a while before you do it. Don't make the rash decision. Like typically during a Mercury retrograde, someone will come home with the purple Corvette. And then a week later be like, what the hell did I buy? So Mercury in retrograde really just wants you to slow down and think about what you're doing with stuff. But we blame Mercury retrograde for everything these days. So,
or give more time. Like if you'd normally leave for work a half an hour early, leave 45 minutes early, because it's just going to be that's
true.
Like that's going to happen.
Good point, because it does screw around with our electronics when Mercury's retrograde. That's for sure. And, anything that's travel, airlines, things like that will get pretty glitchy. But it also depends on where it's falling in your chart. I was actually born with Mercury in retrograde, so it doesn't really affect me as much. And for people who have a planet retrograde in their chart, that's usually the rule of thumb. If the planet's retrograde, it doesn't really affect you when it goes retro and in transit. So I know you all want to know what kind of holiday that we're having. And around Christmas time, winter solstice is December 21st. That's when winter really begins. Yuck, yuck. Nobody wants that, right? But when that happens, there's a couple of things that also happen in the planets. And it's going to also, the energy that starts to build after this new moon coming in sets the stage for 2020. And then there's a lot of things that happen before the end of the month that make it more and more intense. So the energy just keeps building and building and gets more and more intense until we get to this huge Pluto-Saturn conjunction that happens in January, which you're going to hear every astrologer talking about ad nauseum until it happens, because that only happens 3 times a century. And usually when that does happen, it is some kind of historic change that happens in the world. So around the winter solstice, the energy from that new moon is building. It's an energy of, kind of like the old and the new, and you'll feel a lot of duality between those two things. But if you can merge them in your life, how beautiful your life is going to be if you can take those changes and just make them a little bit easier to bear. But when the winter solstice comes in around that 21st, we want to be rebellious. It's actually an energy that kind of restarts us. Venus moves out of Capricorn and goes into Aquarius, and Venus is love. It's the things we love. In Aquarius, it's unique. It is attracts things that are really quirky and futuristic. You may find yourself attracted to a person that you wouldn't normally be attracted to. It's excitement. When Venus goes into Aquarius, which happens right after the winter solstice, we want to buzz. We want that heady, exciting business feeling. It's electricity. And so we get a little bit rebellious. We want to kind of hit the restart button in a lot of things in our life. So just know that energy is not going to last. So the things that you do in that excitement may not be things that are very committed It's definitely not the time to get serious about too much of anything in your personal life or relationship wise until well after the new year. Um, so everything keeps intensifying because then we're building up to a full moon. And this year we actually have a full moon right around Christmas time, and it happens with an eclipse. So super powerful. This is like the end of a decade, huge energy coming in to make us really sit and think about what we want to do with the new decade coming in. Where were you at in this decade, and what were the changes you made in your life? I know for me personally, this decade was a huge decade of growth. There's probably nothing in my life right now that I started this decade with, except maybe one or two people. Everything in my life, as I know it, is really less than 10 years old. Um, so Christmas is a really great, happy day this year, but it's also an exciting day. It's a day where we start to go into that energy that started at the winter solstice, still a little rebellious, um, but we start to have breakthroughs because the energy starts to give us some clarity. You know, Mercury has moved into Sagittarius. We're lighthearted, yet we've got a lot of Capricorn energy. By that time, we've got almost 6 planets in Capricorn, and that's real heavy stuff. That is earth heavy, tradition, authority, dominating kind of energy. So Christmas will probably be a quiet one. Christmas will be a happy but quiet energy. It'll be more tradition. You may find yourself wanting to do the things that you did more when you were a kid in traditional Christmases and things like that. Also, the energy coming in right around the 25th, the sun trines Uranus. Uranus is a planet of sudden, unexpected change. The sun lights up that planet right on Christmas Day. There's a day of surprises. It's a game changer. That's really when the energy hits its exact mark. That's the turnover, the turnaround, the breakthrough. So we're going to see some really interesting things happen on Christmas Day this year, and that can be a day before or a day after. But
Okay, we have a phone call coming in, so hold on
okay,
just
cool.
1 second. And then there've been a couple of questions too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not seeing the comments on my feed, so I gotta look at my
Also,
phone.
the energy coming
Hello?
in around the 25th.
Hello. You're gonna have to turn your computer or phone off because we could hear the
Sun lights up that planet right on Christmas
show.
I'm sorry, what could you say?
You're gonna have to turn the volume down on whatever you're watching the show because we could hear the show.
exact mark.
Oh, I was
In the
watching Georgia.
Yes,
Yes, you're on the air, so you're gonna
but
need
we're
to
hearing back.
turn the volume down.
Yeah, we're hearing it in the background. So if you just turn it down while you're on the
Okay,
phone.
let me turn it down. Okay. Yeah, how's that, better?
It is
Perfect.
better. Is this my number one fan, John?
Say that?
Is this my number one fan?
Yes, it is.
How are you doing?
Good. I wanted to wish you good luck,
Thank you.
first of all. And then I have a question.
Great, because it's a little nerve-wracking first time here, so I'm glad you called in.
Okay.
So what is your
So
question?
The question is that you're talking so much about Capricorn.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this really going to be a big year for Capricorns?
Absolutely, and it depends on what chart, what house of your chart Capricorn energy falls in. And I know you are a Capricorn, John, so I'm actually going to look up your chart right now. But
Okay.
But what I was going to say is, it's a huge year of change for Capricorns in a lot of different ways. This is the year where you might find yourself doing things differently. This is a year where you may find yourself philosophically actually changing your behavior. Like maybe you've always approached relationships or family a certain way, and now it becomes something that you never thought you'd be, even thinking about. Really unique vibe. I'm going to look and see what area of your chart it actually affects, because I know I have your chart because we've done private sessions.
Okay.
And this will be good for you. But I know that you also are a very spiritual person. So
Yes.
whenever change comes in your life, you embrace it a lot of times. And that's really what we want to do with everything in our life.
Okay. Very good.
Like embrace the
very
change.
interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to bring up your chart right now. Just hold on. Okay, so you
Okay.
are a Capricorn, and your sun is in your 12th house. So this is spirituality. This is definitely different philosophical thoughts. It is karma. Your North Node is actually there as well. So this is the time in your life when you really start to change the way you do things and follow the plan that the universe really has for you. So my advice to you would be watch the signs in your life. And signs sometimes can be very subtle. It could be a conversation coming in at a certain time from a person that, you never knew before. It could be, you're walking through a bookstore and all of a sudden a book becomes really appealing to you and you read that book and it changes your life. But definitely if the sun and Cap is in your 12th house, it's a little bit in your 11th house also, which is groups of people and your hopes and wishes and dreams. So this is like your year. This is like the time in your life when you can accomplish whatever your goal is. Like whatever you dreamed your ideal life to be, focus on that, because this is the year that you're going to get signs and you're going to be led where to do it. And that's really the philosophy behind Zenkuda, is living, letting your soul lead you.
Right.
And this would be a year in your life where the universe is really in alignment with that and giving you the energy you need to accomplish those things. I'm not saying that's easy. It never is.
Nothing's easy. We know that.
Right. And I posted today and I said, this creating the life you love stuff is really hard. But
oh, for sure.
Yeah. But as I was thinking that, it was really funny. I have this up online today. Tuesday, I was driving to work and I was thinking about the radio show because I had to email some stuff to Sally for graphics and things. And I'm thinking about the show. And I just said a little silent prayer and I said, okay, Spirit, just allow me to do this in my life because I really want to try something new. And please support me. Show me I'm on the right path. And I all of a sudden came out of my little, when we drive, sometimes we're someplace else. And all of a sudden I look at the road and focus on it and I'm driving into a rainbow. And I was like, wow, when we're in alignment, Spirit really does let us know. So that's going to be the type of year that you have, John, especially with the sun and all these signs in Capricorn all these planets in Capricorn in your 12th house. 12th house, some astrologers believe, is like the final house of the zodiac wheel, the zodiac wheel being, the cycle of life. So a lot of people feel that this is when someone is doing a lot of work in a 12th house, that actually prepares them for a tremendous amount of ascension when they finally cross over. Like this is like you've had many, many lives. So this is the life where your karma really gives you the rewards that you want.
Wow.
So
Very interesting.
Yeah. So what I would suggest for you in particular is before you go to sleep every night, this is a trick because we have a tendency, especially us insomniacs sometimes, we have a tendency.
Yes, insomniacs.
Yes. I get that vibe from you. We have a tendency to think about our worries before we go to sleep. And what you really want to do is you want to picture your ideal life before you go to sleep. Because when we sleep, our brain kind of moves over a little bit. And our soul takes over. Our ego doesn't tell us we can't do something. There's no ego when you're sleeping. So your ideal life can be manifested when you're asleep through your guides and through spirit. So you really want to do that. So this is a year where you have very powerful universal energy at your back. So do that. Okay?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Any other questions?
No, we just got to get together.
Yes.
Soon, hopefully before the holidays.
Yes, we will. Thank you for calling in, John.
Absolutely, absolutely. And good luck to you.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to be here every
All
Thursday,
right.
6:30.
Yeah, I will be here. Okay.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And if anybody wants to see other videos that we have on about astrology and live tarot readings and things like that, next week I'm going to do some live tarot card pulls because we have the moon coming in. I always try and time that with the moon. If anybody wants to see more of those, you can go on Zenkuda on YouTube, and there's a whole bunch of videos up there. So I'm not seeing comments, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Gina Kanjemi Coffin asked, what is the difference between a sun sign and a zodiac sign?
Most people refer to their sun sign as their zodiac sign, but what it really is your sun sign. A zodiac sign are the 12 signs of the zodiac, like Aries, Pisces, Taurus, etc. So that's a zodiac sign. So your sun sign, just to give everybody a little background, your sun sign is your life force. Whatever house or sign, Capricorn, like John is a Capricorn, or Leo or Libra, whatever sign your sun is in, that is how you will exhibit your life force, how you will play out your personality to the outside world, your true nature, okay? Your moon sign is your emotion. So suppose your moon is in Cancer. That's a very emotional sign, but it's also a sign where Cancers like to go in their shell. If they get tested at all or challenged at all, if there's any conflict, they'll go and, they're going in the bedroom and closing the door and they're not talking to you for a week. So I exaggerate, but I'm kidding. So your moon is your emotions, your sun is your life force, and then you have a rising sign. The rising sign is your personality exhibited to the world that may not be your true personality. It's your face. It's the face we all wear. So that's why sometimes a person could be like a Libra sun, but a Sagittarius rising, and they'll exhibit more like a Sagittarius because your rising sign sometimes is the face you put out to the world. So I hope that answers your question, Miss Gina. And what are you?
I think Gina's a Sagittarius.
I think so too. And Sagittarius are very outgoing.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, I feel like she is. Because Saggies are very outgoing. They love a party. If you ever want to have a really good party, you invite a Saggy, and they'll kind of be the life of the party. But the one thing about Saggies is do not try to lie to them or fake them out, because a Saggy knows the truth at like 70 paces away. They can spot someone who's completely phony. A Sag will just bring out the truth. They're all about the truth. So yeah, you're going to hear a lot about Capricorn energy, because we have a lot of planets going in Capricorn, a lot of major transits in Capricorn. And some of these have not happened for 700 years. So it's going to be very historic the next couple of years. The energy of Capricorn is an energy that likes to climb. It's the symbol of the goat. And it's a limiting energy. Most people think Capricorns are very ambitious, but it's also a limiting energy, because if you think about that goat that wants to climb the mountain, the only thing they fix on is the top of the mountain. They don't think about higher than that. The planet Jupiter, which is in Capricorn right now and just egressed into there, is a planet that wants us to climb to the top of the mountain, but not stay there. It wants us to just keep going. So that's the limitation of Jupiter in Capricorn, is it has a tendency to put it into the four walls. I used the analogy the other day as like, those big Macy's parade balloons.
Yeah.
One that got stuck between a building would be like Jupiter and Capricorn. It just doesn't let it expand all the way. So that's the energy. Sometimes it can be really kind of funky.
You mentioned earlier with that you have your Mercury is in retrograde in
my birth chart.
How does that change a person if your Mercury is in retrograde?
Well, the idea is when Mercury is in retrograde, the idea is a lot of things will be glitchy, and the reason the universe gives us that energy is always for a higher good. So it gives us the energy so that we slow down and kind of think about what we're doing. But if someone has that in their chart at birth, they're more assimilated to that energy, so it's not going to affect them in such a harsh way.
Okay.
But if Mercury was say Mercury retrograde was sitting right next to the planet Jupiter, which we talked a lot about tonight, that's expansive, then it would expand that energy in the chart. So that's kind of how the personalities and the archetypes of the planets work. When they are together, they kind of give each other different personalities.
So let's say you had Mercury in Taurus retrograde.
Yeah.
Do you change later in life because
you can.
Retrograde is slowed and then eventually it catches up, or you just always kind of like that?
You can change. That's why it's important. There's something called a progress chart, which actually shows where your planets are as you progress through life. But for instance, if someone had Mercury in Taurus, the way that would be channeled in their life energy is Taurus is a very fixed energy. Taurus is the sign of the bull. And if you look at the archetypes of each sign, like the bull, the goat, the scales of justice, it's very much indicative of what that sign is. So Taurus is a very, fixed energy. The thing about a Taurus is if they're in motion, they're not going to stop unless they're ready to stop. Like if someone's mowing the lawn and you want to go to dinner and they're a Taurus, they're not coming to dinner until they're finished mowing the lawn. If someone is completely on the couch and resting and they're doing something and they're doing nothing, Taurus is not going to get up until they're ready to get up. So that's what the energy of Taurus is. So now Mercury is our mind. It's our thoughts. So how would our thoughts respond to that kind of energy? You'd be a very slow thinker, a methodical thinker, a wise thinker, but a very slow decision maker and a very slow thinker. You would analyze things and really kind of have a more plodding decision-making process. You would not be
more careful.
Right.
Okay.
You would not be someone who would go buy the purple Corvette. Would never happen.
Right. Okay.
If you've got Mercury in Taurus. So that gives everybody a little education on how this works, because sometimes we can think it's really complicated, and it's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of you have to know what the planets' kind of personalities are and what the zodiac signs' personalities are.
Yeah, if anyone would like to call in, the phone number is 516 465 3990. And Georgia will talk to you. She could look at your chart.
Yep.
She can read cards. She could just,
I brought
speak
some
with you about
cards
anything
today.
that you'd want to talk to.
Yep. Anybody wants me to pull a card from, I can do that. So I want to get back to Christmas for a minute because I think Christmas actually ignites an energy that is going to be with us for a while after that. And things kind of get super serious because around Christmas time is when a lot of planets start really going into that heavy Capricorn energy that we were just talking about. And so we're going to be ending this year on a really serious note. And New Year's Eve is going to be like a really serious kind of night. It's the end of a decade, but we've got so much Capricorn energy that it can be really heavy. The way to use that is to get down to business. If there's something that you've been planning in your biz or in your work, that's the energy you want to utilize it because Capricorn is an energy that's really ambitious too. So once you come off that Christmas holiday or if you have that week off, use it to be super productive. Otherwise, the energy could get a little bit too heavy. It's an energy that's requesting us to really get down to business. And around that New Year's Eve time, I'm going to give you all a really big word of caution. New Year's Eve, we've got Mercury trining Uranus, which if you remember I mentioned is that planet of like electricity and lightning. And Mercury is our mind. It's also our communication. So when Mercury and Uranus are having a little party, you got to watch your words. So when you go out New Year's and New Year's Eve, what's that saying we always say? Words can heal you or destroy you. So you're going to want to watch your words the last couple of days of this month and this decade, because if there's something that you've been doing, it might come out in a really harsh way. So it's not going to be an easy New Year's, I can tell you that. Be cautious. It's a total energy shift in December that sets up to 2020. So just know that. And, when change happens, it happens gradually usually. But this is going to be some things that kind of happen pretty quickly. And then we'll see the rest of the decade from 2020 on, culminating them and integrating them and stuff like that. Also, the other thing I wanted to say, and you can see this in the news and with what's happening in politics, transparency and integrity are going to be a huge theme from 2020 on. Anything that is not of transparency and integrity in your life is probably going to fall apart or be exposed. And I say that cautiously, but in an optimistic way too, because it probably has to be exposed for it to change.
Yeah, it's probably healthier.
Yeah. So just know if there's something that you've been holding in the vault's going to get opened, and it's probably going to get opened sometime in 2020. So if you have been a bad boy or a bad girl, you may want to come clean now. And and if there's anything that is a conversation that you've been wanting to have with someone, it's probably a good time to do it around the beginning of January. I'd wait until after the holiday. But 2020 is definitely, the theme is going to be tell it like it is and tell it with love in your heart and really make sure that you use kind words and loving kindness, because it can go the other way really quick. So I wonder if anybody out there has some secrets.
I think we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, Sagittarians will know. So really interesting, when I first started to do astrology, the thing that motivated...
We have a call coming in, just
Oh,
so
okay,
you know.
let's see who this is. Hello? Hi, it's
Georgia?
Georgia Rose. Yes, Georgia Rose from Zenkuda.
Hi, Georgia. It's Gina.
Hi, Gina. The woman
Hi, I
responsible
have
for getting me into this mess in the first place.
You're doing awesome. You look great.
Thanks. I don't think anybody knows I'm out there.
They will.
That's
It
not
could take
true.
some
People
time.
watch them.
People watching.
Yes, there are people watching. But here's my question. I'm a Sagittarius. So you
We
guessed
knew
it
that.
right.
We guessed it right. See?
Yes.
Sally and I know these
And
things.
I've had a rough year just with accidents and health-wise like that.
Okay.
Is that going to get better? Because I've almost lost all of this year.
You don't have
Yeah.
many limbs left. I'm sure
That's
it's
right.
going to
She's
go
been-
away because there's nothing left for you to stab.
Right. She's been hobbling for a while. So Jupiter's been in Sag this past year. It just went into Capricorn on the 3rd of this month. So it's going to ease up for you. Because what happens when Jupiter goes into our sign is it expands everything. And it expands the good stuff. Like you probably have had some changes this year that have been really benevolent and abundant for you. But it also, if there's anything we're not taking care of, it expands that as well. So if I had a hazard a guess, I would say that maybe these things happen to kind of wake you up and take better care of your health. Like, we only go to the doctor when we're sick, and then maybe he finds something else, but it's good because he wouldn't have found it otherwise, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's really what happens whenever we find these like accidental things happening. Nothing is really an accident. There are no coincidences. It's all synchronistic. So
Right.
so I think it should ease off for you now because again, Jupiter expanded it all, and I'd have to look at your exact chart for more stuff, but I would hazard a guess it's probably transiting your 6th house or something because that's the house of health and daily routine. So have you found your daily routine challenged as well in 2019?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's your 6th house. So now it's moving away from that. So that should ease up for you, definitely.
Okay.
And there's actually no planets in Sagittarius now, so you're going to get a break.
Good.
You're going
I
to
need
get
it.
a nice long winter's nap.
Nice.
The universe is going to give me a break. That's great.
It is.
Okay, one other question. Sagittarius, I am, and my husband's a Taurus.
Okay. That's
How
actually
is that
pretty
for a
good.
relationship? I've always wanted to ask somebody.
Yeah, it's actually, I could do a comparison of both your charts, but the Taurus energy, like we were discussing before, is a very steady energy. The lovely thing about Taurus is they actually make very loyal and good husbands, usually for the long haul, because Taurians are people who are really tenacious, and they don't give up on anything until it's absolutely completely finished, every T crossed, every I dotted. They're the ones to call. They'll stay late, come in early, that kind of thing. And Taurus is a very earthbound kind of an energy. It's a steady energy. And Sagittarians are fire. They're fiery. They're outgoing. So it kind of is a good match because the Taurus are usually a little bit more quiet. So it gives that Sag the stage. It gives the Sag a chance to be who they are. The only conflict you're going to have with Taurus and Sag is probably Sag is like freedom. Saggies are kind of like, I want to be married to you for the rest of my life, but I don't want to see you every day. That kind of thing.
That's why him working 18 hours a day works well for us.
Exactly. And Taurus they like the creature comforts. Taurus are very sensuous people, but not sensuous in the sense of sexuality, although that can be too. But they're sensual in like creature comforts. Like they're the ones who have a certain chair they love, the blanket, certain foods like that. That's really home to them. That's where they feel the most comfortable. And Saggies are kind of like okay, I'm done with this. I want to pick up and move somewhere else, and I want to go on a trip, and I want to travel, and I want to do all these things. So, it could be good if you meet each other in the middle. You can have the best of both worlds.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I hope that rang true for you.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You've been married forever anyway, so.
How do you pick
Yeah, I know. Because you said, the whole thing, and he works 18 hours a day. I swear that's why we're still married. When he retires, that's it. We're going to get divorced. He's going to be around too much.
You have to get big hobbies. You have to, go to play mahjong every day or ride horses.
All right. I'm going to get off the phone just in case someone else wants to call.
Wait,
Okay,
hang
thank
out for
you.
just a second,
yeah.
Gina. When you were saying something like you could pull a card for someone.
Oh, yeah.
Do you just pull one card? Like, could you
I
pull
could do
one for
that.
Jean and see how that works? I was
Yeah,
just
we
curious
can
about
definitely
it.
do that. Would be awesome.
And next week we're going to be doing live tarot because in honor of the moon. So we'll do that. Whoops, these cards are not all in the same facing way. Wonder how that happened. Ooh. Yeah, I was on the show the other morning and we were freaking Eric out a little bit. He was afraid of the cards.
He's afraid of everything. He's a baby.
A big baby, but a baby.
A good baby.
He's out eating old American right now. He's having a hamburger. Okay, so Gina, send me some of your energy. I'm going to actually pick a card for you to see how your how the 2020 is going to be for you, and hopefully your health will be really good. So I'm going to pick a card for 2020.
Okay.
Let's pick this one. Oh, wow. This is really amazing. You can see this on camera maybe? I don't know. Hopefully everyone can see this. This is the beautiful card. It's the the Four of Wands. And the Four of Wands is actually, Gina, one of the best cards in the deck for what we were just talking about, partnerships and relationships. So obviously something's going to happen with you and your hubby that you even get closer. So I don't know why. I just got this sensation. Are you planning a trip or a vacation with him? Because I feel like you're going to go away somewhere.
No, we actually just canceled our trip.
Oh, Mercury retrograde. You need to reschedule that because I feel like it's going to be almost like a honeymoon kind of a trip for you guys. So
yeah, we were supposed to go away for our 30th anniversary, but
There
then
you go.
the storm came through and we canceled it, and then we were supposed to go away again between Christmas and New Year's, and we had to cancel that too. So we we are trying to plan something.
Yeah, I think you really need to, because this card is telling me that you're going to rekindle a lot of things, and you deserve that. So it's always nice after 30 years to have that romance, and I feel like this is going to be very romantic for you. So
Great.
rebook
Well,
that
that's good.
trip. Definitely rebook.
I will. I definitely will.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so next week we're going to do live tarot. So call into the show and we'll pull cards for everybody. And I'll tell you, especially with the energy that we have next week on the new moon, because it's going to be a lot of clarity. So I think it will be pretty powerful tarot on that night. Definitely so.
Okay, good.
And then on December 26th, like I said, we're going to have Kat Mayer from Moonlit Kitty Spirit Healing. And she's going to come in and talk all about crystals for us. And she's also an artist. She does some art that she's going to talk about that's channeled. So we should be pretty good. So I don't know if anybody else has a comment or a question they want to make about the astrology, because that's our subject tonight. So
You can call in at 516-465-3990.
yes, we're working out the kinks tonight in our very first broadcast. So next week we're going to be even better than we are right now. So one of the things that also is really interesting with astrology is getting back to relationships, because a lot of times when clients come to see me, and you can always book a private reading through the Zenkuda.com website. A lot of times when people come to see me, they have questions about relationships, and I can actually see in a chart if something is more than likely ready to be a longer relationship, or if something is destined to maybe break up. Now, I don't like to predict relationships, but I do like to tell people what the energy is so they can be prepared if there's changes coming up, or if they need to pay more attention to their partner and things like that. So that's a pretty interesting way to use astrology for, the highest octave of our life, really. So I urge all of you to check out your charts, and you can do that for free. You can go onto astro.com, ASTRO.com, or cafeastrology.com. And if you know the time and place of your birth date, you can actually run your chart for free. And it may look something like this. I have a chart here I can show you. It'll look something like this. And you may at first not really understand how to interpret it, but as you can see, there's numbers around all of these sections. And those are the 12 houses of the zodiac chart, and each house represents an area of life. The first house is the house of self. The second house is the house of money and our possessions and the things we value. Third house is communication and siblings. And so once you start to know what each house is, then you can see what planet is in there, and you'll know which part of your life is being expanded or constricted, or what area you have challenges in. So it's pretty cool stuff. Astrology is one of the things that I do. Like I said, I'm also a psychic medium. I also do healing work through Reiki. I do a breast cancer circle for Babylon Breast Cancer Coalition every month. And we're going to do a lot of different energies on the show, in order for people to really be introduced to a lot of spiritual energy and a lot of energy they can use to really live their life to their highest octave. I call that living full throttle, living Zenkuda. So Sally, have you ever had a chart done?
Yeah, I've kind of done that where you kind of plug it all in, and then but it's actually really interesting to go to an astrologist, because sometimes it's different. Sometimes this one person that I knew laid it all out, and she did all this math, and then she actually, not in my chart but in someone else's chart, she's like, no, that person isn't a Capricorn moon. It's or an Aquarius moon. It's actually a Capricorn moon, depending on when the person was born.
Right.
And it was such a couple of minute thing that, and once I read the Capricorn versus the Aquarius, the Aquarius moon never made sense to me about this one person.
So
I was maybe it's not all 100% or something. And then
that's so true. I had someone come for a reading the other day, and they gave me a 2-hour span on their birth time because they didn't know it.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, I'm not sure which moon you are, but I will know when I see you because I'll be able to pick up the energy. Right. Yeah. So it's funny how it just holds true,
So it is nice to go to someone who, can do that. I like that a little bit more. Yeah.
And the other thing I think about astrology also is make sure you pick someone who is really an astrologer who's been doing it either a long time or their message is one that you really trust and that resonates with you. Because a lot of times people will maybe just study something for a month or two and then put themselves out there as someone who really should be doing this. And they can really steer you wrong.
They could really still steer you wrong. I mean, they can talk you out of being with a certain person.
Correct.
They could bring up things that aren't necessarily true that all of a sudden you see in a person when it's not there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it really is like a big risk to
Yeah, I've heard a
to
lot of
talk
weird
to
stories,
someone.
I have to say. And also, like I try to be very responsible and have integrity about my readings. I never give people advice on what to do with their life. I'll say, well, I see this, and, your free will is going to take over. But whoever you see, whatever guru or teacher or whoever they are, you really want to make sure that whatever happens really resonates with you personally and sounds like the right thing that you really want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you can pull a card without them touching it. Like one time I saw someone, or this person was doing tarot cards, and she was saying how it's actually the person touching it that, so you can, but you're able to do that for someone over the phone. So that's kind of
Yeah,
groovy.
I think a lot of psychic mediums, myself included, we more or less everyone has a different technique, and I don't think it has to do with learning the technique. I think it's what intrinsically is your way, and I often say this: if you're a musician and you're a psychic, then things are going to come to you through music. If you're an engineer and psychic, then it's going to be numbers or structure. I had a friend once who was an engineer, and when he meditated, he used to see the world grid and pick up world vibration because that's what resonated with him, you know. So I've always been super good at patterns. So I think that's one of the things where astrology works. Hi, this is Georgia from Zenkuda.
Hi, Georgia. How are you? John again.
It's you again. We can't get rid of you.
Yes.
You're like gum on our shoe.
Oh, in a nice way, though.
But we love you.
Just two questions.
Yeah.
One, is this taped so we can go back and look at it again, or it's not?
Yes. You can go on
Okay.
govsradio.com on the internet, and you can watch the show anytime. And you can also go on Gov's Comedy Club on Facebook, and they're all there.
Right. Okay. And then
Gov's
the other
Comedy Club
question-
Radio on Facebook.
Gov's Comedy Club Radio on Facebook.
Okay, I will definitely find it if it's there. That's not going to be a problem.
It's also
I was
streamed
just-
on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, and YouTube streams it. And I'm also probably going to download them on my own YouTube channel, which is Zenkuda.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we're going to be all over.
That's good. That's a good thing. The other one was, I got actually two questions. One, can you pull a card for me?
I knew you were going to ask me that. You love cards.
I do love cards. Your cards are always good. That's why.
Okay.
Put a lot of work into it. And then the other thing I was going to ask you is Capricorn and Cancer.
Yes.
How is that?
Capricorn and Cancer are alternate signs. They're actually opposites on the zodiac wheel. So
Right, that's what I thought.
yeah, so sometimes there can be a lot of push-pull energy with Capricorn and Cancer, but I'm
Right.
going to get really deep and philosophical for you guys, and if you don't like it, you turn it off.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll stay tuned. Capricorn is winter. It's the start of winter. So philosophically speaking, Capricorn is where the soul goes to die. The soul goes to
Okay.
meet God, so to speak, in astrological terms. And Cancer is the start of summer. Cancer is where the soul goes to ascend. So what does that mean? It's a really actuation of the cycle of life. So Cancer and Capricorn are really supposed to be integrated because just like when winter starts, the flowers die, but their seeds work their way for the next several months to be fertilization or compost for what blooms, right? Cycle of life.
Like a circle of life.
Right. So Cancer and Capricorn in their highest octave will complement and integrate each other by the lessons of acceptance. But if one of those partners isn't really into the lesson of acceptance or can't allow for that transformation and the full completion of the cycle, it can be a real push-pull because winter, summer, winter, summer.
Right.
So that's really the deepest way to describe it. So on a daily level, Cancer and Capricorn will work, but they're going to have problems with detachment because Capricorns like to detach. They're not emotional beings usually. They're very pragmatic. And Cancers, when things get too heavy, they go in the shell. So somebody's got to make the first move. Somebody's got to overcome that, just like transformation, death, and rebirth.
Right.
So that's the
Makes sense.
yeah. So that's the challenge, and The planet Saturn is all about time and timelessness. And I only bring this up because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And when Saturn rules Capricorn, what it really wants is you to understand, and Cancer being its opposition, understanding the same thing. And that lesson is there is no time. The only thing that really matters in life is timelessness. Those moments you have when you're really in a vulnerable place and you let your complete soul come through and your guard is down and you're feeling a connection with that other person, time disappears. Time disappears. That's the lesson of Cancer Capricorn, is to be able to be vulnerable enough and allow yourself to go into the timelessness.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
A lot of I could relate to a lot of that.
Yeah. So I'm
A
going
lot
to
of
pull a
that.
card for you, and we'll see what
Okay.
it is. Yeah. This is the card. And the card is the Magician, which is unlimited possibilities. So you have the power, and your partner, if they're a Cancer, has the power to go into that beautiful vulnerability of love through timelessness. But you both have to have the
Right.
free will to do it. Because if you look at the top of the Magician's head, the symbol of infinity is above it. Anything is possible. And that cycle of life is completed. It never ends. Energy never dies. It just transforms.
Right.
So it could be a beautiful, beautiful union, but both people have to be in the mindset to do that.
Right. Not one, both of them. Exactly.
Yeah.
With anything.
Yeah.
With anything, you need two people.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I hope that answers your question, John.
Oh, you did. You answered the question. You definitely answered the question.
And I think we're just
Definitely.
about done here tonight, I think. Right, Sally? Mm-hmm. We're almost done. So I hope you guys will tune in next Thursday, 6:30. We're going to do some cards. You guys are going to love that. It's going to be fun. And you can comment and ask questions and call in live, and we'll pull cards for everybody. And,
Okay.
yeah, thanks for calling in, John.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. It was great. Okay.
And,
Take
yeah.
care, Sally. You too. All
Bye,
right.
John. Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.
You can find me on Zenkuda.com online, on Zenkuda Official on Instagram, and of course on Facebook at Zenkuda. And definitely tune in to govscomedyradio.com.